here we are talking about big tire bikes again, because there's more to be said. Now, I've been riding mine for a while. I have made some modifications to it, and I have some more modifications to make to it, but you know what? Handles pretty good now. I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it. It's good to go. A lot of people speculate that the reason these bikes handle so poorly, if they do, and they're not all created equal, and I'll tell you why in a minute. People speculate everything from, well, everything usually has something to do with steering geometry, what people say. Steering geometry, the trail, and blah, 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 blah. And yes, all that shit's contributing factors. But we've been riding long enough and ridden enough shit by now that we already know all this. What really makes these a different creature is a matter of balance. An issue of balance. Think about it. All that shit spaced out on that primary side only, all that extra weight is projected out on that primary side, clutch, basket, etc., pushing all that shit out on that primary side so that you can line that big fat ass tire up, wheel up, with that counterbalance sprocket, that countershaft sprocket, excuse me, it should be a counterbalance, with that countershaft sprocket to drive that rear tire. And if you have a belt, like I have, that's wider yet. Anyway, so there's no weight to compensate for that, to offset that weight on the other side to restore balance to the motorcycle. So if you just go and do all that with no thought about what this is going to do to the balance of the motorcycle, everything moved off to the left, the center line, then you're going to have a machine that's going to be a whole different thing to ride, a whole different kind of motorcycle to ride, and not in a good way. And yeah, all these other steering geometry and all is a factor with chopper, of course, but we've all ridden choppers. I love choppers. I'm good with choppers. I can do all kind of crazy shit with choppers if I wanted to and so desired, but too old for that. So now I'm grateful to ride. Yeah, I like to have a little balls. I like to have a little power, but I'm not trying to go, how fast do I need to go nowadays? It's always more fun to have the ability to go fast than to really just go fast, for me. Now, you sport bike guys, I know you feel differently. A lot of you probably do. I see the way some of you guys ride. You probably do feel differently, but clearly that's not me. If that were the case with me, I'd have a big Ducati or some shit. I wouldn't be riding choppers and cruisers and things like that. I'm a Harley guy. British bikes are good too. Hell, anything. But we're gonna get into that in another video. So let's try and stay on point if I can. I have a problem with that if you couldn't tell. So yeah, while all these other things in choppers, while all these other aspects are a factor in the ride of the motorcycle, none of that, coming in the door what you're getting there, but your surprise may very well be balancing issue, a matter of balance, and that's huge. It can be potentially huge. So I would say that if you're new to that and you haven't experienced that yet and you don't know what you're going to be getting into, if you're looking for a big tire bike, if that's the itch you want to scratch and that's what appeals to you, then you may want to single out the right side drive fat tire choppers and look at them first primarily, because that bike, that indicates that it even has a right side drive, indicates that whoever built that biker, they took that into consideration, that issue of balance, and they moved the final drive over to the right side to offset some of that weight projected out on that left side of the primary, by means of a jack shaft or whatever they've done it. However they've done it, most likely just a jack shaft. And if you had a jack shaft on there, then you wouldn't have to space that damn countershaft sprocket out that far, right? You could just keep it where conventional countershaft sprocket is, line it up with your jack shaft, mount it behind, somewhere in the vicinity of the rear of the transmission or whatever, wherever you're going to foot it, however you're going to accomplish it, and transfer that final drive over to that right wheel, and then you can even put some extra weight over there, as you put all these final drive components over there, put your sprocket or whatever you got. So that's pretty much the whole matter. Do all left side drive motorcycles handle poorly and have a balance issue? Not so much, not at all. I mean, Harley Davidson builds a hell of a bike. That Breakout, I think, is an awesome bike. Doesn't particularly have a huge balance problem. Obviously, they have a huge research and development department. They have deep pockets, and their engineering is knows no boundaries. I mean, if they want to engineer something or develop something, they certainly have the money and the resources to do that and to try to do it better than everybody else if they really wanted to. I mean, I'm sure that's what they shoot for. They don't always, sometimes they fall on their face, but a lot of times, they do a hell of a job with it. I think the Breakout's an awesome bike. I think it's aesthetically, it's a gorgeous bike. I like the way it sits. Its stance is nice and navy, even though they still have left side drive motorcycle, right? But they still have worked out enough to offset that balance, that the motorcycle offset that weight to try to maintain some center of balance with centerliner motorcycle. And if you're still not with me with the balance issue, you're not hearing what I'm saying, then just take any motorcycle you want. Take your trusted steed that you most enjoy riding and you think it handles very well and you love it to death. And you probably think it handles much better than my motorcycle, and you may be correct. But take a cinder block and just throw it over the side and hang it off at the left side of that motorcycle, and now take it out and ride it and tell me if it's not a whole different creature. Yeah. So that's pretty much what you want to consider if you're looking for a fat tire motorcycle. It doesn't have to be an experience in terror to ride. It doesn't have to be a horrible, unbalanced beast that you're going to fight and struggle with. Some of the left side drive ones are still pretty well balanced. That's been taken into consideration by a lot of people, but basically if you see a right side drive one, that's probably going to be your more surer bet. If you're not buying like a Harley factory bike, then you probably, somebody independently built a bike, or you're going to build one, consider building a right side drive bike. That's going to be, believe it or not, in the long run, a cheaper way to go to achieve, a decently balanced motorcycle that's not going to disappoint you. Mine, like I said, I'm loving it. I just got off of it. I'm getting a good feel for it. I'm liking it. I have made some changes. I have done some things to offset that issue of balance and to counterbalance that motorcycle a little bit, and it's paid big dividends. And we'll get into that in another video, I guess, if you're interested. So I guess that's all for now. Just wanted to point that out. It's a matter of balance. I think when you're talking fat tire motorcycles, you want to take that in consideration of any potential motorcycle you're looking at if you're looking for one.